It's Scandinavia 900 CE. Imagine waking up to the cold sting of the Nordic air, knowing that today you might fight, conquer, or die. The life of a warrior wasn't just about raiding distant lands. It was about discipline, strength, and an unshakable belief in fate. But what did a typical day look like for these legendary fighters? Let's step into the past and walk in the footsteps, from morning training to the chaos of battle, of a Viking warrior. A Viking warrior's day began early. Before the sun had fully risen, the warriors would gather for training. Strength and endurance were key. Lifting heavy stones, wrestling, and sparring with weapons were all part of their routine. Boys as young as 12 were expected to train, learning not only how to wield swords, axes, and spears, but also how to move quickly and efficiently in battle. Warriors would also practice tactical maneuvers, engaging in mock battles to simulate real combat scenarios. They believed that combat readiness was not just about skill, but also about mental resilience, ensuring they could handle the horrors of battle. Despite their reputation for brutality, Vikings valued skill over sheer strength. Speed, agility, and coordination often meant the difference between life and death. Training also involved archery, shield formations, and even swimming with full armor, preparing for battles on both land and sea. The ability to fight in various environments was crucial, as Viking warriors often faced unexpected terrains and enemy tactics. They had to adapt quickly, whether fighting in dense forests, icy rivers, or open fields against armored knights. Each morning's training ensured they were battle-ready, physically and mentally. Beyond combat training, warriors tended to daily chores. They repaired weapons, maintained their longships, and even farmed when not on raids. Viking society was not just about war. It was built on self-sufficiency and community. Warriors were also craftsmen, blacksmiths, and traders, engaging in various skills that kept their settlements thriving. Despite their fearsome reputation, Vikings had a deep respect for family and kinship, and many warriors balanced their roles as fighters with duties as fathers, husbands, and leaders within their communities. Unlike the heavily armored knights of Europe, Viking warriors relied on speed and practicality. Their primary protection was a simple yet effective combination of a round wooden shield, a chainmail shirt, if they could afford it, and a metal helmet, though not the horned kind often depicted in popular culture. Most warriors wore tunics and woolen trousers, layered with leather for additional protection. Wealthier Vikings might have mail armor, but many relied solely on their shields and agility to avoid fatal blows. As for weapons, the axe was a Viking's best friend. Whether a simple hand axe or the deadly long-handled Dane axe, this weapon could split shields and crush armor. The sword was a prized possession, often passed down through generations and decorated with intricate carvings. Spears were also widely used, offering both reach and precision in battle. In addition, some warriors carried small knives, known as sea axes, which were useful for both combat and daily survival tasks. These weapons were crafted by skilled blacksmiths, who combined iron and steel to create deadly yet durable blades. A Viking's shield was more than just protection. It was a weapon in itself. Warriors used them to bash opponents, form impenetrable shield walls, and even deflect arrows mid-battle. The shield wall was one of the most effective Viking battle tactics, allowing warriors to advance as a single unstoppable force. In some cases, shields were decorated with clan symbols or personal markings, serving as both identifiers and psychological tools to intimidate foes. Every piece of armor and every weapon carried a story, representing the warrior's journey and achievements in battle. When a raid was on the horizon, preparations were intense. Warriors sharpened their weapons, reinforced their armor, and gathered supplies. Viking longships were loaded with food, water, and tools, ensuring the warriors could sustain themselves on long journeys. These voyages could last weeks or even months, requiring careful planning and resource management. Warriors would inspect their gear, ensuring that their weapons and shields were in perfect condition before setting sail. Before departure, rituals were performed to gain the favor of the gods. Sacrifices, sometimes animals, sometimes valuables, were made to Odin, Thor, or Freya, seeking their protection and strength. The warriors would then drink mead, share stories, and mentally prepare for the brutal combat ahead. Some warriors painted their faces with war symbols, believing they would invoke divine strength. Others sought guidance from seers, who would read omens in the flight of birds or the patterns of bones. When battle erupted, chaos reigned. Viking warriors fought in tight formations, using their shields to create a near-impenetrable wall. The clash of metal, the roars of war cries, and the screams of the fallen filled the battlefield. Unlike the disciplined ranks of Roman legions, Viking combat was fast and brutal. They relied on shock tactics, overwhelming enemies with their sheer aggression and fearlessness. Berserkers, warriors who fought in a trance-like rage, were among the most feared. They charged into battle without fear of death, believing they were possessed by the spirits of bears or wolves. The psychological impact of berserkers alone could break enemy lines. Viking warriors also used deception, staging feigned retreats to lure enemies into ambushes. Victory wasn't just about strength, it was about cunning. A Viking's greatest honor was to die in battle. Those who fell with weapon in hand believed they would be taken to Valhalla, the great hall of Odin. This belief made them fearless, willing to fight to their last breath. They saw no shame in dying, only in cowardice. For the Vikings, battle was not just about survival. It was about destiny. The Viking Age didn't last forever. By the late 11th century, the once feared Norse raiders found themselves facing new challenges. Stronger kingdoms rose in Europe, fortifications became harder to breach, and Christianity spread across the north, changing Viking society from within. No longer were they just raiders. They became settlers, traders, and rulers of distant lands. Though the era of Viking conquest came to an end, their legacy lived on. Their descendants shaped the histories of England, France, Russia, and beyond. Their shipbuilding techniques revolutionized naval warfare, and their myths, sagas, and warrior spirit still capture our imagination today. But for the Viking warrior, life was always about the present. The next fight, the next voyage, the next moment of glory. Because in their world, only one thing was certain. Fate was inescapable, and only the brave would be remembered. The Viking warrior was more than just a ruthless raider. He was a survivor, a tactician, and a believer in destiny. From grueling training sessions to high-stakes battles, every day was a test of strength, skill, and willpower. These Norsemen carved their place in history, not just with their axes, but with their ambition, resilience, and fearless pursuit of the unknown. Their myths continue to inspire. Their runestones still whisper stories of the past, and their legend endures. Whether seen as bloodthirsty invaders or brilliant seafarers, the Vikings changed the world forever. Their way of life may have faded, but their spirit remains, etched into history, waiting to be rediscovered. Would you have survived as a Viking warrior? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through the Viking Age, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. Until next time, stay curious,